Hello guys, and welcome to my Hybrid Warden build. If you don't know what a hybrid is, it is a build that pulls both from the Magicka and Stamina pools to deal damage. So it's kind of an exotic build in ESO. Hybrids are something that haven't really been super viable in the game, but they become more and more viable, and especially this patch, just with some really awesome CP changes and some addition of new gear, hybrids are much more viable than they have been before. So let's jump into it, guys. Let's take a look at the Hybrid Warden. So taking a look at my stat page here, I'm just going to buff up for you guys because being on a hybrid means that we're going to have stats all over the place. So we're going to start on the Greatsword bar here. We've got 28k maximum stamina and 3,200 weapon damage, sitting at 34% weapon crit. And then when we swap to our staff bar, we've got 1,900 spell damage, 40k magicka, and 52.9% spell crit. So we've got quite a bit of critical on this hybrid build, which is pretty sweet. We are in 5 light armor as well, so that's why our weapon crit's a little bit lower. We've got a whopping 24.47k HP value, so lots of HP on this build, which is super awesome. You see the recoveries aren't that bad. If we buff up our recoveries here with a... with pots, we see that we're coming in at 1052 magicka recovery and 925 stamina recovery. So these aren't so terrible. Something to mention about the recoveries, guys, is that we are playing a hybrid build, and one of the advantages of playing a hybrid is that you get to pull from both your pools, which effectively alleviates your other pool, allowing it to regen while you're still casting abilities without being charged for the cast. So it's a great way to kind of sustain your resources on a hybrid. Something that I will say is that you don't need the same amount of recovery on a hybrid build that you would need on a pure stamina or magicka build. Just due to the fact that we can pull from both pools, it helps us really keep our resources balanced and full. Our physical and spell resist aren't very high. We are in light armor. We have very little critical resistance as well. We have a 40k magicka value, so we are using a damage shield on this build, so we don't need a ton of crit resist. And then here you can see we've got a whopping 11k spell penetration, and we're sitting at 6k physical penetration. So we've got quite a bit of penetration and critical damage on this hybrid build. A previous hybrid iterations I'd done using Pelinals had very little crit and little to no penetration at all. So this is a little bit of a different approach, going for more of a balanced offensive approach all around, as opposed to just stacking in one stat kind of super heavily. For the Mundus Stone on this build, guys, I've gone with the Thief, and for the food, you want to use the Tri-Stat food, increase all of your primary stats. So this is going to increase your max health by 4,400 and your magicka and stamina by 4,100. Now, using the blue food is also a great option if you want to try that. The blue food works awesome for the hybrid build because we have such a high HP value. We can give up that 4,400 max HP. We're going to drop to around 19k HP in PvP, but we'll gain over 1k magicka and stamina if we switch out for that blue max magicka and stamina food. So it's really up to you guys. If you feel like you want to get rid of the health, go for it. But if you want to have that extra health at the cost of a little bit of damage, totally stick with the purple food if you like. And finally, guys, for the race on a hybrid build, I highly recommend a Dark Elf. And the reason I say Dark Elf is look at these racial passives. Dark Elf gets a 6% bonus to their maximum magicka and stamina, and then 3% more max magicka. So 9% maximum magicka and 6% maximum stamina bonuses coming out of Dark Elf, making it uniquely best in slot for a hybrid build. Alright guys, so let's take a look at the gear and let's see how we're getting from that 30 to 40k magicka value on swap. So we're going to start with the Shackle Breaker set. As you guys could have guessed, we are running 5 Shackle Breaker on this build. This is an awesome set. Weapon damage, spell damage, magicka and stamina recovery on the 4-piece, and then on the 5-piece, maximum magicka and maximum stamina. So this is just a great statistical set for a hybrid. You get a whole bunch of stats, whole bunch of damage, and some regen as well. So it's all around awesome for a hybrid build. So we've got 5-piece Shackle Breaker in our gear here. And we're also running a 1-piece Molekena on the shoulder. Molekena also uniquely best in slot for a hybrid build, being the 1-piece weapon damage and spell damage. And then finally, we've got a 5-piece Necropotence, and this is only on our ice staff bar swap, or only on our staff bar swap if you don't want to use an ice staff. So here you can see we've got the Necropotence in the jewelry, the boots, and then on the Ice Staff. And when we swap to the Greatsword, we lose the 5-piece Necropotence, but we gain a 1-piece Maelstrom. So this is the first time that I put a build out that requires a Maelstrom weapon. Now, if you don't have a Maelstrom weapon for this build, don't fret too much. It's not that huge a deal, but they do help out quite a bit. So if you don't have the Maelstrom weapon, a great option would be to just use a Necropotence Greatsword here instead, and then you get to maintain that max magicka value on both your bars at the loss of a little bit of extra weapon damage. For the traits on the gear, guys, I've gone with Infused on the big pieces because we are running the Tri-Stat glyphs on every single piece of gear. I can't stress how important these glyphs are. You see, I don't have them on the boots. I really should, but I can't stress how important these glyphs are, guys. I can't stress it enough. They are very, very good for a hybrid build. They're going to give you both the maximum magicka and maximum stamina. If you add those two values together, that's the same as if you just had a magicka or stamina glyph on your gear. So the bonus you get out of these glyphs is the maximum health, and that's great because it opens up that option, like I said earlier, to run that blue food, and that blue food will help you push your magicka and stamina values further, and the loss of health will be made up for by having these Tri-Stat glyphs on your gear. So all the big pieces are infused with the Tri-Stat glyphs. For the little pieces, I highly recommend going well-fitted, guys. The reason I say well-fitted is because we are playing a hybrid build in light armor, meaning that we're going to have a bit of strain on our stamina pool. So we want to have some well-fitted on because that's really going to help us sustain our stamina. It's going to make our dodge rolling and our sprinting really cheap. Warden comes by Major Expedition very easily as well through their class skills, so we're going to be doing quite a bit of sprinting as well. For the rings, guys, I recommend all weapon damage enchants, and we'll talk a little bit why we're going weapon damage enchants on the rings and why we're stacking so much max magicka. For the weapons, I've got, of course, the Maelstrom battle axe here. You can go with whatever Maelstrom weapon you get if you have one, or a Master's weapon if you get that too. The ideal trait here would be Sharpened or Nirnhoned. It's really up to you because we do have Rally on this bar, and Nirnhoned will benefit from that Rally. Precise isn't too terribly bad either because we have quite a bit of crit on this build, so you can't really go wrong with Precise, but Sharpened is uniquely best in slot for the damage here. And then on our Ice Staff of Necropotence, we've gone with Infused, and I can't stress how important this Infused trait is, especially for a Shacklebreaker hybrid build. It's going to give us a 417 weapon and spell damage bonus for 5 seconds, and this is on around a 5-second cooldown, so you can keep this bonus up almost 100% while in combat as long as you're swapping between your weapons often. This is really great. This is going to give us both the weapon and spell damage values. The weapon damage will work out to be about a 600 bonus to our weapon damage, which will push us to around 3,800 weapon damage on this build, and it's going to push us to around 2,400 spell damage on this build. So very, very strong trait to have on the staff, and this is definitely more important than the Maelstrom weapon, to have this infused weapon on your off bar to buff your front bar's maximum damage as far as possible. Okay, guys, so let's take a look at the skills we are using here. So I'm going to start by talking about the defensive skills that we use on the bar. I'm going to do this a little bit of a different approach than going one bar at a time. We're going to look at both bars, look at the defensive skills slash buffs that are important for the hybrid build, and then we'll move on. So we're going to start on our Greatsword bar here because we have a majority of our buffs here. We've got the Blue Betty, which is going to give us our major sorcery, as well as return some magicka over 25 seconds, and it also is a negative effect removal, so that's pretty sweet. We have a little bit of a purge on the Warden if we need it, and of course this thing is free to cast, so you can spam it as much as you like if you need to purge more than one ability. But this is where our major sorcery is going to come from primarily. We have Rally as our next kind of buff skill here, slash heal, and Rally of course is going to give us major brutality. It's going to give us a heal over time as well, 854 health every 2 seconds, and as well as that burst heal after we activate Rally. So whenever you need that burst heal, Rally is going to be your access to that. The next ability that we have on the bar is Bird of Prey. So this is going to provide us with our major endurance and our major expedition. So it's going to increase our stamina recovery, make us move 20% faster as well. And then on top of it, this gives us Minor Berserk for 10 seconds. Minor Berserk is a very important buff, especially for a hybrid build, because this goes towards both our magicka and our stamina damage. Minor Berserk is going to buff up both of them. So these 3 buffs here encompass all of our damage boosting buffs that we need for the hybrid build. So on our staff bar, we have 2 other defensive abilities and 1 kind of slotted ability. The next defensive ability we have, of course, is Dampen Magic. We have that 40k magic Magicka pool, so we can use Dampen Magic here. I'm sitting at just about a 9k, or just about a 10k Dampen Magic when I buff up. I'll show you guys there. 8,300 tooltip, increased by 30%. So just over 10k Dampen Magic on this build. So a pretty good damage shield, especially, you know, it's actually a pretty good damage shield. Most people in Cyrodiil are running around a 7 to 9k damage shield, so this is very good. The next ability we have, guys, is Inner Light. We have this slotted for two reasons. First reason, this is going to increase our max magicka by 5%. And second reason, this is going to give us our Major Prophecy on our staff bar. Now, the Major Prophecy comes in handy, but it is limited to only the staff bar, so we don't get it on our Greatsword swap. The Max Magicka is really the attractive piece here of it, because that's going to help boost our shield and just boost all around our Magicka damage on this bar. So it's very important to have these Magicka boosting skills on this bar, because it's going to help push that Necropotence value as far as we possibly can. The next ability we have is Leeching Vines, guys. This is such a powerful heal for the Warden. It's a 10-second buff, so it's kind of short duration. It's going to put vines around you, and that's the animation there for it. It's going to put some vines around you, and what happens is while these vines are up, whenever you take damage, you're going to heal for 1,685 health. Of course, I'm unbuffed, so that value will be a little bit higher when I buff up. The vines will also apply minor lifesteal to enemies that damage the target for 10 seconds. So if you attack anyone that damages you, you will also heal yourself from attacking them as well while you have this buff up. So this is a really good heal buff for the Warden. It synergizes really well with the damage shield, because if you are low on health and you pop the damage shield and then activate your Leeching Vines, as they break your damage shield, your Leeching Vines will heal your health. So you can effectively heal yourself while having that damage shield up, and then of course we have Rally for more healing power if we need it. So now what I'm going to do is we're going to take a look at the offensive skills for this build, guys. And we're going to start on the Greatsword bar to begin. So the first ability that we're going to talk about is Critical Rush. Critical Rush is going to be your gap closer for this build. It's a very powerful damage dealing attack. As you can see, we've got a pretty decent tooltip on this guy. I'll buff it up for you so you can see. Sitting at a 6,158 tooltip, so not bad at all for a hybrid, especially since we're running a battle axe. If we had the Maelstrom Greatsword, we'd be sitting at a 6,700 tooltip on Critical Rush, which is just about 11 or 12% shy of what my high DPS Stamina Templar build has for a Crit Rush tooltip. So it's not that bad at all. The plus side, of course, being on the battle axe is that we can apply a bleed with the axe of it, and then of course we have a Maelstrom weapon, which is going to apply a bleed on the Crit Rush as well. So we've got a lot of bleeds that could potentially come out of this ability thanks to us running a battle axe. The next ability we have is Brawler. Now, the reason I've gone with Brawler here is because I'm running a battle axe and I'm playing kind of a bleed-centric build. If you wanted to play this build but you had a two-handed sword, it would be a great idea to use Executioner here if you really wanted it. Executioner, of course, is going to be a great finisher, but because, of course, I've got the battle axe on, I decided to go for the bleed-heavy build. You can always run Brawler on the Greatsword too if you like. It's really up to you. But Executioner is an option if you want to use it as well. I did use Executioner with the battle axe as well, and it did work great for me too, so it's really up to you if you want to use it or not. Both are great options, but I think for sustained damage over time, Brawler is the better skill to go with. And then finally, the ultimate on the Greatsword bar, we have Flawless Dawnbreaker. So this is an important ultimate. First off, it's a Fighter's Guild skill, so it'll increase our weapon damage by 3%. And Flawless Dawnbreaker, this particular morph, will increase our weapon's damage by a bonus 5%. So we get 8% bonus to our weapon damage for having this ability slotted on our bar. Not only is it a great kind of passive ability to just buff up all of our physical damage in general, but on top of it, it's a very good bursty ultimate. We are running a Deep Fissure, so Deep Fissure into a heavy attack Flawless Dawnbreaker is a great way to just kind of put a heavy burst combo onto an opponent, and even a group of players, because that is all AoE damage that you'll be spitting out with this build. This hybrid build actually is sporting some pretty awesome AoE pressure. It's pretty unique, so I had a lot of fun playing the AoE game with this guy. So let's take a look at the staff bar. The first ability we have is Winter's Revenge. Now you'll notice that on my Destro staff bar, I'm using a Frost Staff and I don't have a Destruction Staff ability slotted at all. So let's take a look at the Destruction Staff passives and see what we're really missing out on here. The only passive that we're missing out on is Ancient Knowledge, which gives us a bonus while we have the Destruction Staff ability slotted. Frost Staffs reduce the cost of blocking by 30% and increase the amount of damage you can block by 20%. Now, we are running a damage shield, and Frost Staff, uniquely for the Warden, is a good DPS option. It's not as great as the Fire Staff, but it's a very close second, thanks to Warden getting a 6% bonus to their frost damage. So we actually don't really need this passive because we're not going to be doing a lot of blocking with this staff at all, thanks to the fact that we're going to be running a damage shield. And if you're running a damage shield build, you really shouldn't be doing too much blocking on your build. So that's why we've gone with Winter's Revenge. The kind of opposite choice of Winter's Revenge here would be Wall of Elements, and you can see the tooltip damage on Wall of Elements is much lower, and it doesn't last nearly as long. Elemental Blockade would have been the morph of choice, coming in at just about a 1300 tooltip, and of course Winter's Revenge is almost at 1800, lasting for 12 seconds. And then of course Winter's Revenge is nice because you can cast it at a distance as well. So this comes in really handy if you want to kind of hold down an area. You can keep this Winter's Revenge in the gap. Now, something to keep in mind is that it is only a 30% snare, but being a Winter's Embrace skill, it has a high chance of applying chilled to your opponent. 200% bonus chance of applying chilled to your opponent, and you also get a bonus chance of applying chilled by wielding a frost staff. So most of the time when you hit people with this ability, they will get snared an extra 30 or 40% from that chilled status as well, so you'll be snaring them really good with this ability. The next ability we have on the bar is Deep Fissure. Now, this is your AoE burst for the build and also your stun skill. So this is one of the most important abilities for Warden, I think. This is the only stun we have on this build. It can be a little tricky to aim at times, but it synergizes really well if you use this ability, and then just as it's about to go off, crit rush into a target. It almost guarantees that you're going to land the stun on them every time. And it's good combination damage with the crit rush as well. This ability is also great because it does a whole bunch of AoE damage, so you can use it for those big AoE burst combos as well. And then finally, the ultimate that we have on our Destruction Staff bar is Northern Storm. And of course, we've slotted this because of that passive. While slotted, your max magicka is increased by 8%. Northern Storm is also a really powerful ultimate. It deals 4,000 frost damage every 1 second for 8 seconds, so it deals a little bit less damage than Eye of the Storm, but it functions in the same way. It's also going to reduce the enemy's movement speed by 70%. That is a huge snare to be throwing out in your Northern Storm. And then on top of it, it's also going to give you major protection, which is going to reduce your incoming damage by 30%, which makes it uniquely a very powerful defensive ultimate as well. If you feel like you're taking a lot of pressure, you can pop this ultimate to kind of keep yourself from dying too. That 30% minor protection bonus also counts for your damage shields, so it'll make your damage shields more powerful too. And so you can see on our Frost Staff bar between Northern Storm and Inner Light, we've got a 13% bonus to our maximum magicka, plus 2% extra for this being a Mage's Guild skill, so 15% bonus to our maximum magicka on this bar, where we have the 8% bonus weapon damage on our Greatsword bar. So, we talked a little bit about why I've stacked max magicka and max weapon damage. The reason that I've gone for it, as you can see in my character, between the skills I showed you and the gear I showed you, the reason that we've gone for this is because max magicka is the best thing to stack if you want to increase your outgoing magic damage, as you get better returns from it than stacking spell damage, and the same with weapon damage. Weapon damage is the best to stack for stamina damage, as you'll get better returns from it than if you went for stacking maximum stamina. So here you can see that we did put a few points into the max stamina, and that's simply because we needed a bigger max stamina pool, and I did want to even out the damage on this hybrid a little bit. So I think this is pretty ideally where you want to sit, around 40k maximum magicka and just about 30k maximum stamina for this build. Alright guys, so let's take a look at those champion points. So they'll dive right into it. We're going to start in the green tree here. We've got 23 in Warlord, 18 in Sprinter, and 4 in Siphoner. 23 Warlord, of course, is going to be great to reduce the break free cost. Sprinter, of course, is going to be great because you're going to be doing sprinting. The 4 in Siphoner is just a little bit of extra points that I had left over. As I've mentioned in previous videos, guys, when you put points into your champion trees, it gets rounded down to the nearest percent. So if you put 23 points in Warlord and you're sitting at 10.22%, reduced cost of break free, it's actually 10% reduced cost of break free. And you see if I put another point in here, it'll increase it to 10.6. That would still round down to 10. So the way that this kind of works is I was just left over with a few points and I decided to dump them into Siphoner. In the Lover tree, we've got 37 in Mooncalf, 64 in Arcanist, and 19 in Tenacity. Mooncalf, of course, is going to be great because we do need that stamina sustain. Arcanist is going to be great as well, and we're doing a focus on Magicka sustain because we have primarily Magicka-based abilities on this build. or magicka costing abilities, sorry. And then tenacity is also awesome because this is going to affect both our light or both of our heavy attacks with our staff and our greatsword. So this is kind of like a double whammy for sustain on the hybrid as well. And then of course the fun passive here is wind running, 2% movement speed, and also increase your health and magicka recovery by 10% while sprinting. So this is pretty cool because while sprinting, it's going to give us a little bit bonus to the magicka recovery. Kind of comes in handy, but that 2% movement speed is also pretty sweet as well. In the Shadow Tree, we've got 34 in Tumbling, reduce the cost of roll dodging by 14%, and we've got a 11 in Shadow Ward, reduce the cost of block by 5%. So roll dodge, very important. We have the well fitted as well, so our roll dodge is going to be very cheap. If we had golded out the well-fitted, we'd be sitting at just around a 34% reduced cost of roll dodge. So very good, especially in light armor. And for Shadow Ward, reduce the cost of block. This is just simply because we're going to have to do a bit of blocking every now and then in PvP. It's just PvP. You're going to have to block some attacks at certain times. But this is not primarily a blocking build, so we didn't put a lot of points in here. Okay, so let's take a look at that blue tree. We're going to start in the Apprentice. So you can see I've got 15 Elemental Expert, 10 in Spell Erosion, and 9 in Elfborn. So these are just kind of a little bit equally spread out, of course with a focus on Elemental Expert because that's going to give us all outgoing damage, and we're not a super crit-based build, so we won't be focusing too much on Elfborn over Elemental Expert. This is going to increase all of our magic damage and our elemental damage, which is great for our Frost Staff. Spell Erosion, of course, increase our spell penetration. Elfborn for a little bit of bonus to our crits. The important passive that we get in this tree is Spell Precision, increasing our spell critical by 12%. This is an absolute must-have for a hybrid build. You gotta have this. In the Atronach tree, we've got 66 in Master of Arms. This is going to give us a 22% increased damage to our direct damaging effects. So this includes our light and heavy attacks, critical rush, any of our AoEs, anything that isn't a damage over time effect is buffed by this Master at Arms. Our physical weapons expert is 27 points, and our staff expert is also at 27 points. This is going to give us a 16% bonus to our physical and our staff light and heavy attacks. So this is very important as well for the build. And then finally, this gives us access to the Tactician passive. Now, we're not really taking advantage of this off balance, just due to the fact that when you put your points for a hybrid build, they're fairly limited, so you have to be careful with how you put them. If you really want to do it, you can always do off balance here and then dump 75 points into Exploiter for that 10% bonus to off balance enemies. The only downside is that you'll be missing out on this spell precision, so you'll be missing out on around 12% spell crit. Now, the trade-off isn't so bad. I mean, Exploiter does come in handy, but for the most part, it only really works when you're countering opponents' attacks with a dodge roll and then counter-attacking, and it only really comes in handy for like 1vx, etc. Otherwise, you just won't get too terribly much out of this off-balance passive, especially if you're fighting in like a simple one-on-one against someone with this build, just because you won't be doing tons of roll dodges thanks to the damage shields that you're using. So let's take a look at that ritual tree then. We've got 15 in Mighty, 9 in Piercing, 9 in Precise Strikes, and 23 in Thaumaturge. So we've put a few points in Thaumaturge here because we have quite a few dots on this build. If you're playing this build and you're going to be running a Greatsword with Critical Rush and Executioner, I'd still recommend putting a few points in here, but you don't have to put quite as many. I'm running a lot of bleeds on the variation that I've been playing, so I decided to put 23 points in here. We've got the 15 in Mighty, just increasing all of our physical damage by around 4%, 9 in Piercing for that almost 1k penetration, and the Precise Strikes for that 4% increase to our criticals with our physical weapons. Of course, the important passive here is that weapon critical increase by 12%. I would argue that this one's more important than the spell critical increase simply because we're in light armor and we already have a bit of spell crit bonus, so you want to make sure that you definitely have this one, that 12% weapon crit. Okay, so let's take a look at that red tree, guys. In the Steed, we've got 61 in Ironclad, 5 in Spell Shield, and 10 in Resistant. 61 Ironclad, reduce the damage against direct damage attacks by 21%. So this is very helpful. This is kind of the counter to our Master at Arms passive, so this is going to reduce incoming burst damage. I would argue for PvP, Ironclad is one of the most important passives to put points into, simply because it is going to mitigate a lot of incoming burst damage. Most burst damage attacks and bursty skills that kill you quickly are going to be direct damage attacks, so Ironclad makes you very resistant against that incoming burst. Spell Shield's great, a little bit of spell resistance. We get a little bit of crit resist as well. We didn't really focus on that, as we do have a pretty decent damage shield on this build, and we're going to be keeping it up a lot, so we don't have to worry too much about our resistances or crit resist. We got a little bit in light armor focus for that physical resistance. 16 thick skin, 15 hardy, and 15 elemental. This is, of course, to buff up our resistances as well. These are great because these affect our damage shields also, so this is going to reduce the damage that our damage shields take, and also Ironclad also reduces the damage that your damage shields take as well, so this is very good to invest into Ironclad, and then you see I put a few more points into Hardy, Elemental Defender, and Thick Skin for that reason. In the Lord tree, we've got 5 Expert Defender, reduce a little bit of incoming light and heavy attack damage, 11 in Quick Recovery, 3% increased healing power, and then 66 in Bastion, increase the effectiveness of your damage shields by 22%. So Bastion, of course, being the important passive here, is we have that very large Dampen Magic shield, so we want to make sure that we keep it above that 10k value. Of course, Dampen Magic synergizing really well with our Leeching Vines heal, so Bastion's going to be an important tree to focus on in our red tree. Alright guys, let's jump into some PvP commentary. So here we are at a red keep that has a massive AD Zerg inside of it. I do a quick sprint past them here. I'm going to try to get into the tower. I really just don't want to attract too many people to me, especially if I'm by myself. So I see this guy fighting some yellows in the tower there. I help him quickly finish off one of the Nightblades here. The friendly player that's with me ends up running off, so I keep attacking this Nightblade. I try to put some pressure into him. Here you can see I'm going for the the Deep Fissure, and I'm trying to crit rush into him, trying to get that combo to land, but he's running around corners like crazy, so it's very hard to get a hold on this guy. Another Nightblade shows up here, a separate guy. He goes and he attacks me, fears into the ult dump. I keep my shields up, taking very little damage from him. I go into my ultimate to counter him, making sure that he can't stealth out of it. He tries to get away, jumps down, and ends up getting himself sandwiched between me and another player, and ends up dying as well. So the AD just broke the door here, so what I'm going to do is try to pick at the back of their siege line just a little bit and work my way inside the keep. This guy here is on his siege. I go for the Deep Fissure into crit rush. He seems to be pretty tanky. He doesn't take much damage at all, so I decide quickly to back up out of there, seeing a lot of yellows coming through the gate as well, so I don't want to attract too terribly much attention here. You see here I turn around and there's just one or two Nightblades kind of shooting arrows at me here, so I'm not too terribly concerned with that. I peek my head back out the back here and I see a Sork unawares and unprepared, and there you see that beautiful Deep Fissure crit rush into Dawnbreaker combo to bring that guy down. This is in the no CP campaign as well, so that was about a 20k combo on the hybrid of bursts, so not bad at all, guys. And then I'm left to fight this rather tanky Templar here. He's just kind of holding block and trying to prevent EP from running in to defend the keep. I decide that quickly he's not really worth my time, and as soon as I turn around, everybody kind of focuses him and bursts him down. So I work my way into the keep here, trying to just kind of focus targets and pick him down. This guy's AFK. I don't really like killing AFK players, so I just kind of like leave him to go fight someone who's actually, you know, causing trouble in this fight. I see this Sork here. I try to go for the Deep Fissure. It shoots at a weird angle there. I see a Sork with rather low HP, but he's getting healed and he's throwing a bunch of shields on himself as well, so I have trouble bursting him down. But here you see that he's out of the resources and he's no longer getting healed by this other sorcerer, and I just quickly finish him off. And we're just kind of like in a rather scrappy fight in this keep. There's a lot of EP, a lot of AD, and it's just about kind of positioning yourself, finding the right spot to sit so we can kill as many guys as possible. We come upstairs here and I find a couple Nightblades. I get one of them here with the good Deep Fissure combo, and I end up doing quite a bit of AoE damage to all of them. Another EP player comes up, so we end up trying to chase this Nightblade down, but he's very, very fast. I try using the Gap Closer to get into him, but it doesn't end up working so well, and I lose him. But there you go. He gets a negate dropped on him by an NPC. That's too bad, hey? That's just too bad. So we just kind of clean up the rest of the yellows up here, just trying to make sure that they're all dead. Of course, in a keep fight, guys, you want to make sure that you don't leave anybody alive in the keep because they'll start rezzing their friends. So as we're cleaning up these yellows, you see that, yes, they do get a few rezzes off, and there's some Nightblades here causing trouble. I get an awesome Deep Fissure crit rush off on that Nightblade and just absolutely tear him into the ground with the stun, and the poor guy goes down. I decide to head back downstairs. The threat upstairs seems to be pretty alleviated. While heading downstairs, I see, oh, look at this big yellow group here. Kind of an organized group here fighting. It's the same tankier Templar from earlier. I decide that I'm not going to engage with these guys as I'm a little bit low on resources here, so I pop the damage shield, drop off the edge, and unfortunately I drop into an even worse position than I was in before. There's a whole bunch of guys down here. So here you can see I'm very low resources. I go for my damage shield into Leeching Vines. I get the potion up just as I need it, go for the AoE on the ground, get an awesome stun off on the Nightblade, into the crit rush brawler. You can look at the bleeds on these guys, and these guys are fairly low HP here. There's another Nightblade here that helps me finish off that other AD player, and we just kind of put some damage into the rest of them to finish them off as well. And there's just, I think that's it for the AD here, but lo and behold, look who's at the door. We've got some more DC to play with. So I decide to sit with my fellow EP players here. The DC push in behind us. I go for the Deep Fissure into the heavy attack. I'm pretty low on resources here, so I want to take it a little careful with these DC. Just kind of waiting for them to spread out a little bit. And as you can see here, they just get mowed down by Siege. So they end up splitting into two different groups, not very large. I get a nice combo off on this guy here with some other EP, and the rest of the DC just kind of go down. And I think that's the end of this keep defense. Oh, sorry, just kidding, guys. There's a couple of AD up in the tower here, and I'm going to go engage with these guys. As you can see, I pre-buff all of my skills going into the attack. I end up missing my first Deep Fissure as I buffed it up a little bit too quickly. I throw my AoEs down. I get the Deep Fissure stun off on the Nightblade. The Templar turns around and throws the Soul Assault on me. I just kind of tank it out with my damage shield. He doesn't do a lot of damage. Quickly finish off this Nightblade with a lot of dot and bleed pressure. The Templar then is staying on the siege. I get a good stun off on him, and he just kind of goes down as another EP player comes up here to help me finish him off. So let's move on to the next clip. Okay, so here's a clip of just getting ganked by quite a few bow Nightblades. I hear the snipe coming, and I get off my horse in time for the roll dodge. I end up dodging both of his snipes, but I take another snipe from another Nightblade, as well as a Jesus Beam from a Templar. So I quickly respond with my damage shield into my Leeching Vine. Such an excellent counter to the Jesus Beam, as it's just going to heal me while it tries to break my damage shield. I get an awesome stun off on this guy. I go for the crit rush into him, into the Dawnbreaker, and I end up doing a lot of damage to that Nightblade. The Templar responds with a Soul Assault right away, and look at this. If it's not one faction of Nightblades, it's the other one. Here comes some other Nightblades from the AD side. So this Templar had kind of already dumped his ult on me, and he gets ganked by these other two Nightblades. So they've already gone and marked me, so I'm expecting the arrows coming out of these guys. So I decide that I'm going to move into a position where I have a little bit more cover, so I can't get sniped from all angles. And I pop my pot too, so I've got a little bit of resources. So I now take advantage of my opportunity. One of them's out of stealth, so I try to go for him and burst him down as quick as I can. I Deep Fissure, turn around into a big Dawnbreaker combo, bring that guy down, and during the entire thing, the other guy is trying to gank me, and my Leeching Vine / damage shields keep me alive. Now I'm really low resources. I kind of pushed myself to the limit, taking that guy down, and this other Nightblade just doesn't seem to know it, so he seems to just leave me alone. So let's move on to the next clip. Okay, guys, so for this last clip here, we're back in no CP land, and here's a group of DC on their resource here. I go for my ultimate, and I try to bomb these guys. You can see I do a lot of AoE damage to them. I managed to do quite a bit, but they respond quite quickly, and there's a lot more than I had thought there were. I do a quick pullback here, get quite lucky that we've got a few EP snipers in the back here. A tankier EP player goes in after me, taking a lot of focus, and I get an awesome combo off on those guys there, and this EP as well is doing some nice AoE damage, and we just drop all of those poor DC there. So about 4 guys, I think, went down there. I take a bad stun from the NPC here. I'm not too terribly worried as I have my damage shield up, and I know that that stun will be taken off of me if I get hurt when my damage shield's down. So these guys are back on the resource here, and they've got their siege. I'm still pretty low resources, so you see me channel some heavy attacks on them. I drop a quick Dawnbreaker, trying to just get a little bit of cover here, make sure that both me and this other EP player can make it inside. I take a lot of damage here, leeching vines into the damage shield, and then of course go for a rally as I need it. And here you can see my HP just kind of like shoots up as these guys damage me. They are seriously just kind of healing me as they go on the offensive. So I was hoping to pull a few of those guys in here. Only 2 of them followed, and only 1 of them actually like followed me upstairs. So now I'm just kind of like upstairs alone, and I know that this Nightblade's kind of coming up behind me, but I think he just turns around. He decides not to follow me. So there you have it. So I go right back around to the front of the tower, and lo and behold, there's Mr. Nightblade that I was looking for. I do a Frost Heavy attack on him, and he ends up just jumping off the edge. Doesn't even see me, just going to do something else. So I try to quickly take down this tower mage guard, just to make sure that I'm not getting any unnecessary negates or eclipses on me while I'm up here. And then I decide that I think I need to reposition myself for this fight as well, seeing that they have the camp on the other side there as well as all their siege facing towards the center of the resource. I decide that repositioning is probably going to be the best. The Nightblade from before comes up, and he tries to gank me with a Templar. So now I've got the 2-on-1 against these guys. I get the stun off on the Nightblade, go into the swarm, and I put some real damage into him, but the Templar is healing the crap out of this guy. So I'm having a lot of trouble taking them down through this Templar's healing. The Templar also took quite a bit of AoE flak from me as well, so he's taking a bit of a beating. This Nightblade decides that he's going to jump off the edge. He actually survives the fall. What a risky time to jump off the edge. So very lucky there. The Templar decides he's not going to stay up here with me either, and he ends up jumping down too. So I managed to totally clear them out of this tower. They're not coming back up here to fight me in this other EP. So this is where we do the reposition. Like I said before, they're all facing in that one direction. They're focusing on the front. So I decide to move around the back of the resource here. Keeping my buffs up, of course. I've got quite high resources now. I did manage to get them back. And I find these 2 guys here, Deep Fissure, and oh my god, they just get wrecked. Just poor guys. And now I just keep pushing forward. So now we've completely cleared out their siege line, and it's time to kill these guys in the front. Kill all of their tankier, tougher guys, and we go into the Deep Fissure. We're spamming the Brawler dots, keeping the Deep Fissures down while we're in our Northern Storm ultimate, just putting a lot of AoE damage into these guys. All of them drop except for the one healer, and he just kind of goes down after he's done popping his ultimate. I work my way a little bit down further south here as the DC have become quite split up in this fight. And here we see the last few of these DC here. I catch them all in my snare here, which is super awesome, holding them nice and still for the rest of these EP as well to come in and hit these guys. And as you can see here, I just keep the snares on them. I don't want to let them move around. Big Dawnbreaker drop. The EP are also dropping their ults as well, and these DC guys just go down, and we're just left to kind of clean them up. Just a little bit lower on resources, getting those heavy attacks in just in case there's some more DC coming, but otherwise, that is the end of that fight, guys. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching the video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to hit that like and or subscribe button. And as always, guys, if you have any questions for me, feel free to put them in the comments section, and I will answer them as soon as I can. And have a great night. I'll see you guys next time.